Hey everybody, it's time for the drive home brain dump, and unfortunately I got several phone calls, so I'm actually doing it in the parking lot, and I'm going to make this one really quick. At the Psycho Student Alliance Leadership Conference, I gave a talk that I called Unsafe Assumptions, and one of the points that I addressed was something that I've come to call the kindred spirit fallacy, and that is when you are introduced to somebody or become aware of somebody who agrees with you on a very important issue, something that's core to your identity, there's a tendency to assume that you therefore agree on all of these other issues. That's not necessarily the case, and it ends up being a roadblock to communications because you're assuming things about the other person, bringing extra baggage into the conversation. And when you, in fact, find out that you disagree on something, it's a bit of a shock, and it's a bit difficult to kind of backtrack to where you parted company in order to have a conversation about why you disagree and how to correct that if possible. There's another version of this problem that I've seen today and several times in the last few weeks, but I've noticed it before, and that is when you find somebody that you disagree with, there is also a tendency to assume that they have had access to and been exposed to all of the same information that you've been exposed to. That is almost certainly not true. I mean, not only are we all different, but it's just unreasonable to think that the person you're talking to has read all the same stuff you've read. It's something that's caused problems in communications that I've tried to have over the past couple of days, where people have assumed that I'm familiar with X, Y, and Z. Sometimes I am familiar with parts of them, sometimes I'm not. And so I thought I'd take a couple minutes to explain, for clarity, what I do and don't do, and why. I post videos on YouTube, sometimes. This is fairly new, and I haven't done a lot of them. And for a day or maybe two, after I post them, I will attempt to engage in conversation with some of the commenters as I have time. I have a full-time job. My workload has actually just increased because some people have left our office for other opportunities. So that happens for the first couple of days that a video is up, and then I'm done with it. I don't go back and read comments unless somebody directs me to a specific problem or a serious issue that needs my attention. And that only if I actually see that somebody has directed me to that. I don't get to listen to podcasts, including the podcasts that are produced by my friends, by people I like and admire, podcasts that I'd love to listen to. I don't even get to listen to my wife's podcast. Apart from the episodes where I was physically present in the room, which will be the first handful of episodes of Godless Bitches, and the Denver live episode from the AAA convention, I haven't listened to a single episode. I read blogs, but I get them via Google Reader, which is an RSS feed. So most of the time, maybe 98% of the time, I don't even see comments. On the rare occasions where I actually go out to the blog to look at the post and read it there, I still don't normally bother to look at the comments, and it's fairly rare that I do comment. On the occasions that I've commented, it's either something that related directly to me or something I was doing, or where I just really felt strongly about something and wanted to get a comment out. But I don't engage in big back and forths pretty much. On our blog, there have been a couple of times in the past where I would engage in a discussion there, and I just don't find it very effective. So, Facebook, I will occasionally engage in back and forth on Facebook and occasionally on Twitter. The problem is this. Twitter, I think, is probably the worst of the bunch because it's very difficult to have meaningful conversations, but I still love Twitter because it teaches me to try to be a little more concise. Facebook is a little better. Blogs, not really that much better. Online forums, which, by the way, I don't spend time at online forums. I don't get involved in the online forum discussions there at websites, including the one that I own at ironchariots.org. I haven't been active on that forum in a long time, possibly years. And I think if you go over there, I don't even know if anybody's still active on it. I haven't looked, and Russell's actually been managing that. So I'm not involved in those conversations. I do hear secondhand from people that, oh, you should have seen the comments over at such and such, it was a mess. Or people will mention that we all know that Pharyngula has some rather rabid fans, and I think that of the handful of times that I've looked around the comments there, I've seen a mix of people making reasonable points and people making unreasonable points. And I'm talking about people who are in agreement with BZ. Nobody's got the market cornered on reasonableness or critical thinking. And I just don't find that a very good use of my time. So I don't bother. So there's tons of information out there that some of you have seen I'm just not familiar with. Now, by and large, when people raise these things, I'm like, hey, bring it to my attention. Send me the information. Because sometimes I'm familiar with it, sometimes I'm not, but, nobody wants to actually be wrong on things, or at least I hope they don't actually want to be wrong. But the big reason I don't engage in these is because I find it a very ineffective means of communicating. I want to get the most bang for my buck time-wise, which is why I've started taking this long commute back and forth to work as an opportunity to produce some videos talking about what I think. It starts a conversation. I get lots of email, which is the other thing that I haven't addressed, which is just the other day I archived 4,000 emails that I'm never going to get to, and it's about the 10th time that I've done that. I try to stay on top of emails, but I have way too much coming in, so there's no way, even if I wanted to check and police YouTube and forum comments, I couldn't do it as long as I kept email as my first priority. And it is. Email is the best way to get a hold of me, and it's still only pretty good. But the reason that I find it ineffective is that I find myself repeating things that I've said over and over again when I try to do that. So if I respond to an individual's email, and in some cases I've responded with pages and pages and pages, which could have been a chapter in a book, in many lengthy conversations, and that reaches exactly one person. If I do it on a forum, there's at least the opportunity for other people to see it. Same for YouTube. My problem with YouTube and stuff like that is that there's a character limit. The opportunity for anonymity decreases the signal-to-noise ratio and increases the number of trolls. It's much easier for me to take all the feedback, and I do read as many emails as I can, and I try to read, some of the comments on YouTube. By the way, it's probably better if you don't even comment. It's probably better if you just send me an email. Until next June or July, you can send it to president@atheist-community.org, and that gets to me. That's probably the best way to get an answer, and you might not get a personalized individual response, but what I do is I take the feedback that I'm getting, and that helps direct the next thing that I'm going to talk about. Because I do these videos, and I want to be able to clarify things that I've said in previous videos, correct things that I got wrong. That's the easiest way for me to effectively use my time to communicate. If I just engaged in 1,000 different conversations with 1,000 people, I don't see that as being very effective. It's the reason I do the TV show, instead of just putting up a dial an atheist line so that they're calling me and we engage one-on-one and we're done. The TV show, I'm not trying to convince the person on the other end of the phone so much as I'm trying to make sure that the information gets out, that the conversation takes place. And the fact that I do this live call-in show where I take calls from people I disagree with makes it kind of, some of the accusations about not wanting to engage with people who disagree rather laughable. I love to engage with people I disagree with. It's one of the reasons why I've shifted to doing more formal debates, which, by the way, I'll take this second as the last thing I say for this video to promote the Texas Free Thought Convention, which is coming up here in Austin, Texas in October, the weekend of the 18th, 19th, 20th, 21st, something like that. You can go to TexasFreeThoughtConvention.com or .org, whatever. Google Texas Free Thought Convention, you'll find it. One of the things that I'm doing at this year's convention is a debate. The question is, should atheists, humanists, freethinkers support a right of abortion? And I'll be debating somebody, a fellow atheist, from the secular pro-life organization. We'll see how that goes. I'm looking forward to it. If you're coming to Texas, come and tell me why I'm wrong. We can have a conversation. I don't guarantee that it'll be a long one, unless we can find some way to make sure that other people see it. But I love having the conversations, and anybody who's interacted with me in person at conventions and events probably back that up. Anyway, see you next time.